A school in Jefferson County becomes the scene of a shooting. Gunfire ringing out in a hallway.
I just heard a big boom. I got scared for myself.
A teen rushed to the hospital, shot allegedly by one of his own classmates.
They was having an argument before dude let out a gun. We didn't know he had a gun on him.
Students evacuated. The image is all too familiar. Parents rushed to a local park. Their worst nightmare now a reality.
Scared. Not being able to do anything.
Tonight, how it happened from an eyewitness, the arrest of the gunman in a neighborhood, the parents who want change, and the community that is badly shaken. Wave 3 News at 11 starts right now. Good evening, I'm Shannon Cogan. It is a terrifying first for Jefferson County Public Schools. A shooting on campus. This afternoon, police say a 16-year-old gunman walked into Fern Creek Traditional High School on Bardstown Road and shot a 15-year-old student in a third-floor hallway. The victim rushed to the hospital. His injuries are not life-threatening. The suspect arrested by U.S. Marshals and LMPD's Viper unit 3 hours later. 1,400 students evacuated onto the school's baseball field while parents nervously waited to pick them up at a nearby park. Wave 3 News anchor Scott Reynolds was covering the story for us all afternoon from Fern Creek High School. He is there live tonight, and what a terrifying afternoon for all involved, Scott.
Especially those students, Shannon, because when the call for a lockdown came, they were between classes. They were in those hallways, in the stairwells, and then the call for a lockdown, and it could have been chaos and pandemonium. Amazingly, none of the students were hurt as they're trying to rush into a classroom to get in a secure location. But as they did that, and then they knew the suspect wasn't in the building, they moved those hundreds and hundreds of students to a nearby area here to the school, Fern Creek Park. But little did all those students know as they waited for their parents to pick them up that the suspect would be apprehended just a little more than a stone's throw away from where they were waiting. Theo Keith was there at this apartment complex this afternoon.
Well, Scott, police and U.S. Marshals fanned out, and then they focused in on an apartment unit that's not at all far from where we are right now. That suspect is in custody. He faces several charges new tonight. U.S. Marshals and the Metro Police Viper Squad load their suspect into this black SUV. The arrest happened inside the park at Hurstbourne Apartments, just 1 mile from Fern Creek High School.
Next thing you know, the kid pulls out a gun and he fires the gun.
Hours before, witnesses saw the shooter arguing with another student on the 3rd floor of the school. Then, says Fern Creek freshman Samuel Fraser, he fired.
And as soon as I heard the gunshot, I basically knew what it was, so I didn't have any intent on really looking at him. I just wanted to get out of there.
While police evacuated hundreds of students with hands on their heads, the shooter ran. Police tracked him through this neighborhood close by. You can see the officers holding guns about to search these woods. Tips brought them to this apartment building.
And the next thing I know, they had the canines, and Marshall's probably 10 deep.
Phyllis Kavanaugh lives across the hall from where the suspect hid out and across from where a search that made national news came to an end.
What does it feel like to be across the hall from where the shooter was arrested?
It's scary. It's sad.
Neighbors who saw the arrest say the suspect came out peacefully. But what provoked the shooting? At the suspect's Newburgh home, no one would open the door. What? Meanwhile, students were questioning how to stop this from happening again.
Anybody can bring in a gun. All you have to do is put it in your bag. We don't ever really get checked.
Police have charged the 16-year-old, who they're not naming, with first-degree assault, wanton endangerment, possession of a weapon on school property, tampering with evidence, and carrying a concealed weapon. He's locked up downtown in youth detention, Scott.
And a lot more to be learned about him.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Why this happened and how long he had that gun and if he'd brought it in before.
No doubt.
All right, thanks, Theo. And this is a day unlike any other in JCPS school history. The first time JCPS tells me that someone's been shot inside of a school. Now, at first, some of the students thought it maybe was just a drill, but they soon realized a crime had happened in their hallway. The chaos began at 1 p.m. in a hallway on the 3rd floor of Fern Creek Traditional High School.
They was having an argument before dude let out a gun. We didn't know he had a gun on him.
Like, I just heard a big boom, and like everybody started running. There was like somebody just got shot. Somebody got shot.
Like me and my friend, we were going up the stairs to go to the 3rd floor, and then all of a sudden everybody just kept running. Like we just got ambushed by a whole bunch of people that were running, and we was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" He was like, everybody was like, "He got a gun. He got a gun."
And everybody was just running, and everybody was just going home. Everybody was like, "Go in your rooms, go in your rooms." Then they put us on lockdown.
The school went into a level 5 lockdown. The doors were locked. The students went for cover inside the building, and they stayed there until the clear was given for them to be able to evacuate and go to the Fern Creek Park.
The students left the school single file with their hands on their heads, an image that will remain in the minds of many forever, as their anxious parents started to arrive at nearby Fern Creek Park.
The worst is coming. Scared, not being able to do anything.
Meanwhile, Louisville Metro Police canvassing the area, searching for the gunman. Finally, at 4:15, a little more than 3 hours after the shooting, word that the suspect was in police custody at an apartment complex very close to Fern Creek Park.
Our officers apprehended the suspect that was involved in the shooting. The school has been cleared and secured. Given the all clear, we ask parents to continue to be patient.
So that's the timeline of events, but for the parents trying to meet back up with their students, it felt like a lifetime. And as Dawn G explains tonight, that park near the school here at Fern Creek filled not only with students, but a lot of anxiety. However, very few answers.
When you hear there has been a shooting in your child's school,
This is where they told me to wait.
what you don't know can hurt you.
That's all the information I have. I'm sorry.
I'm just waiting patiently. I know they said that one 16-year-old boy is on his way to the hospital, and I'm just praying that it's not Marquise or Markel.
That pain was obvious as parents waited, watched, and prayed after hearing a student was shot at Fern Creek High School.
I got a granddaughter in high school, and supposedly it happened somewhere around her room, and she's still on lockdown, so I don't know what the situation with her is.
The information came from the school by text from panicked students.
She's very upset. She's scared to death.
And for some,
I didn't even get a text message on this. I work nights, I woke up, and this is on the news.
Chaos as orderly as it can be.
And then we'll get everybody's kid to them as safely and as quickly as we can.
So you are in the right spot to be reunited with your student.
Until one by one, students were reunited with their families, with questions still unanswered and fears not quite laid to rest.
Was there an argument?
Yes, it was a money situation. Somebody owed somebody else and they didn't have it, so he pulled the gun out and started shooting.
I want to know how we can move forward from this, find out the lessons learned, what went wrong in the school to make this incident happen.
And a couple other things happening in Fern Creek Park. Parents of special needs children knew that their students would need some extra care to be moved. They were concerned about how they were handled. And Fern Creek Elementary, right next to the high school, those parents were wondering what's going to happen to our students. They were in the park. They would later learn school would let out on time, but the students would get home very late because buses were tied up, handling all the high school students as well. The condition of that victim here today, we're being told that that person has non-life-threatening injuries and is in stable condition at U of L Hospital. It's a 15-year-old male student from Fern Creek High School, expected at this point to make a full recovery. Superintendent Dr. Donna Hargens talked about the district's response and this school's response today.
Our staff is trained. They went on lockdown. We have a great relationship with LMPD who responded. So we handled a difficult situation, and our students did an amazing job of following the directives and doing what they were supposed to do.
And the Fern Creek principal, Nate Meyer, releasing a letter that the parents would get saying that all students and teachers remained safely in their classrooms until the building was thoroughly searched and secured by law enforcement. We understand the great anxiety and fear that a situation like this can produce. We want you to know that teachers followed our safety plan procedures exactly as we have drilled, and students and teachers behaved admirably under the circumstances. And not long after this shooting here, the first response from JCPS came from Ben Jackie, a spokesperson for the school district.
This is senseless. This is unacceptable. This cannot happen in our schools. So we will be cooperating with the Louisville Metro Police Department in any way possible to make sure, A, that we find out who this is and bring them to justice, and B, provide anything that this victim may need.
And of course, this school shooting today happening here at Fern Creek Traditional High School. A lot of questions still remain as to what led to it. Some of the students told us, Shannon, that it was just a silly argument that led to the shooting at about 1 o'clock. Police, I'm sure, will be interrogating that suspect even more tomorrow. And of course, we'll have the latest.
Yeah, much more to learn. Scott, thanks. And today is not the first time Fern Creek has been placed on lockdown with a gun on campus. In February of 2008, a female student reported seeing another male student motion to his hip like he had a gun. The school was placed on lockdown as a precaution. A student from Buchel Metropolitan School was later arrested. And then in 2010, a student was arrested for bringing a gun to school. It was not loaded, and there were not any bullets in the student's bag. In 2011, another scare on campus. School leaders were concerned a student had brought a gun to school. 2 students were taken into custody. Though this was the first shooting to happen on a JCPS campus, school shootings sadly are nothing new to Kentucky. The most notorious at Paducah's Heath High School in 1997, then 14-year-old Michael Carneal opened fire on a prayer circle, killing 3 people and injuring 5 others. In 1993, in Grayson, 17-year-old Gary Scott Pennington shot and killed his English teacher and a janitor at East Carter High School. Some schools in Bullitt County playing it safe and going into what's called a soft lockdown after hearing of the shooting today at Fern Creek. The district superintendent says it is standard safety procedure and student safety is their #1 priority. A similar scene played out at a Central North Carolina high school this morning. Police say a student was shot after an argument just before school began at Auburn Marl High School there. This is just east of Charlotte. The victim is stable. After the shooting, the suspect waited for police in the school. You can find the latest on today's shooting at Fern Creek Traditional High School anytime on wave3.com and the Wave 3 News mobile app. As well, we'll have more for you on Wave 3 News Sunrise beginning tomorrow at 4:30. It's a big mystery tonight. A boy dies after being found seriously wounded in Louisville's Cherokee Park. As Wave 3 News reporter Connie Leonard tells us, police still have no idea who he is. Connie joins us now live, and they're still trying to identify him at this hour, Connie.
Yeah, Shannon, that's right. It's pretty bizarre, hard to believe. Police still here at this hour. The child had no identification on him. That part's not strange because most children don't carry ID. What is strange is some 6.5 hours later, no parent, no relative has called about a missing child. In one of Louisville's busiest and most popular parks, a scary sight. Police tape blocking off a huge wooded section off the scenic loop.
Well, I was pretty startled. Usually it's like a very safe place. I saw all the cop cars. I saw the tape. The tape's usually a good indicator that something serious has occurred.
Near Hogan's Fountain, detectives comb the woods with dogs looking for evidence after a passerby finds an injured white preteen boy, possibly as young as 11. No identity, no family around. Police say he suffered unexplained injury to his body. We're told wounds to his chest area. He died at the hospital.
Specifically, the nature of his injuries, we're unsure of at this point. We're going to have to await the autopsy. So right now, we're treating it as a death investigation.
Maureen LeMay says although the path where the boy was found is in a dense area of trees, it's used all the time.
I was just back there on Sunday, and then I rode my bike through it on Monday, yesterday afternoon. and it's beautiful back there. Like, it's so scary that something horrific has happened.
A young man was found dead up here in the woods. There's no reason for you all to think that there's any danger to any of the other park goers?
At this time, because we don't have an exact cause of death, we really can't say at this point until we know more specifically what caused his death.
And police saying, of course, it's always much safer to travel in pairs when you can. Police are hoping that somebody who's watching this newscast, their memory will be tripped and they'll remember something that will help identify this young boy. If you do remember something, they're asking you to call 911, or you can call their other police number, which is 574-2117. Another number they'd like you to call, 574-2117. Reporting live from Cherokee Park, Connie Leonard, Wave 3 News.
She says she was abducted and tossed into the trunk of this car. What police are saying about this bizarre disappearance. And UK coach John Calipari has a message for some very impatient Wildcat basketball fans.
Well, temperatures have been mild throughout the evening. We're headed to some cool readings by the weekend. Well, we could start out with some patchy fog tomorrow. We'll talk more about that and our rain chance for the weekend coming up.
And a reminder, you can always watch our newscast live on the Wave 3 News mobile app.
Honored with the Edward R. Murrow Award for Overall Excellence. You're watching Wave 3 News.
New tonight at 11, a man was found shot lying in the front yard of a home in Louisville's Chickasaw neighborhood. This happened just after 8 at 40th Street and Grand Avenue. The victim was taken to University Hospital. The LMPD homicide unit stayed at the scene to investigate. No word on the victim's condition tonight. We have new details on that breaking news we brought you yesterday. A woman missing for several days found inside the trunk of a car. Today, police provided us with an update. An hour before, witnesses heard the woman tapping on the trunk with a crowbar. Police got a call about the car.
The officer got there. The person who called it in was not there, so that officer was asking anybody walk by, did they hear anything or see anything? When he ran the tag at that point, the tag had not been entered into a system at that point as a part of a vehicle that was a missing vehicle.
The woman told police the man had a gun and forced her to drive around Kentucky and Indiana before she ended up in that trunk. Police say they're trying to put together her story. They're taking her seriously. And they say surveillance video shows her leaving a store in Newburgh with who they describe as a scraggly-looking man who may have had a weapon. It is the first case of Ebola diagnosed here in the U.S. A patient at a Dallas hospital testing positive for the disease earlier today. Officials say they are isolating that patient. The man had just returned from Liberia days ago. He was visiting family there. The CDC's director says there is zero risk the patient infected anyone on his flight, and he is confident it will not spread widely here. 12 others in the U.S. have been tested for Ebola since July 27th, but all results came back negative. Well, it was another warm day, but wait a few days, we could get a nice change. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett is joining us with this, and this is going to feel like a big difference.
Yeah, we're talking lows back in, well, maybe even the upper 30s for some, Shannon. It all happens by the time the weekend rolls around, so you know, got a couple warm days on the way before then. 70 now in Louisville. That's the warmest around. Mid-50s from Seymour over to North Vernon. Push your way to the south. Campbellsville, Litchfield in the upper 50s. Most areas wind up there overnight. Well, you can see a mainly clear sky. We're going to wind up with a little patchy fog again. We saw it this morning. I think we'll see it tomorrow morning. Temperatures in the 50s, but with some sunshine, we'll bump back into the mid-80s tomorrow in many locales. In fact, the commuter cast looks like this for the morning commute. Outside of a little bit of patchy fog, temperatures maybe a degree or two cooler, mid to upper 50s. And looking ahead to the afternoon, it's a green light. Temperatures top out right around 84 degrees. A decent day is on the way tomorrow with some sunshine. Clear skies outside in Louisville right now with that 70-degree reading. Winds are out of the north. Had a high and low today that were above average. In fact, the high temperature running 10 degrees above the normal. Here in Jefferson County, while we stand at 70 degrees at the International Airport, PRP, U of L, Bowmanfield, St. Matthews, Fisherville, all falling into the 60s already. pointed out that we have clear skies across not only Jefferson County, but much of our viewing area. The cold front we're watching that will bring the cooler air and the next rain chance, which is so needed across Kentuckiana, stands to our west, and that's going to push eastbound over the next couple of days. Expected to arrive here with a chance for not only rain, maybe even a rumble of thunder. We're not looking for severe weather, but we are looking for some needed rain out of this. That looks to occur as we head into late Thursday and early Friday. Tomorrow, a dry day, but a warm one, and we'll be warm again Thursday on the warm side of this with that front lifting to our north. Note the time on Thursday, 7 a.m. Rain gathers to our west across Missouri and Illinois ahead of that front. Then that pushes through late Thursday into Friday, giving us that rain chance, followed by the cooler temperatures. 56, that's tonight's low. That's how we begin our Wednesday. Areas of fog. Tomorrow we can expect some sunshine. We'll warm it up to a high of 84 degrees. If you're a fan of the 80s, enjoy the next couple of days. And we're going to say bye-bye 80s for a while. In fact, the 70s arrive on Friday with that rain chance. 61, the coolest of the next 7 days. That's on Saturday. So much going on this weekend with a number of walks. Once again, that first weekend, October, is always big. The St. James Court Art Show. 67 on Sunday. Small chance of a sprinkle. Both early Saturday, really, and then again late Sunday. So not looking for a lot of rain over the weekend, but Friday we should have some rain around.
And that's the start of fall break for a lot of kids. So
yeah, lingers into early next week. Okay. So cool for that period.
It'll be nice. It'll feel good, won't it? Yeah. All right, let's check in now with Kendrick Haskins to see what's coming up with sports. Kendrick?
Shannon, not only is U of L's Gerard Holloman leading the nation in interceptions, the Cards as a team have the most picks of any team in the country. One of the most memorable of those INTs was not by a Holloman, it was by a lineman. We'll hear from him next. U of L safety Gerard Holloman leads the nation in interceptions with 6 already, but his teammate Sheldon Rankins may have the most memorable pick of the season. After Wake Forest had run numerous shovel passes on the Cards on Saturday, Rankins, a 300-pound defensive end, made his first career interception. The junior says he had visions of scoring when he first made the play, but those thoughts ended in a hurry.
As soon as it hit my hands, I was like, go score, but they jumped on me, and, and those dreams came to an end real fast.
Was there a moment of daylight where you saw the open field ahead of you and thought, I'm going?
Yes, there was. For about a split second, and then I started falling. All those hopes went out the window.
That was unexpected. Coach just basically told us on the sideline to get ready for the shovel pass, and Sheldon played it all the way through, and he pretty much just did what he's supposed to do, and he came out with a pick.
Coach Petrino joins sports director Kent Taylor on Sunday for Inside the Cards. The show is back in its normal time slot at noon on Sunday. We'll have highlights and his reaction from Friday night's game at Syracuse. And the Touchdown Friday Night Player of the Week poll will be up until noon tomorrow on the sports page of Wave3.com. Here are your 5 candidates this week. Go out there and vote. When we come back, John Calipari has a message for the less patient members of Big Blue Nation this coming basketball season. Well, this morning, sports director Kent Taylor sat down with UK head coach John Calipari and asked him about everything ranging from this year's squad to his interest in the NBA. We will bring that to you tomorrow. Yesterday, Cal was in town for the annual tip-off luncheon, and he told fans to expect a rough start to the season as his team figures things out. He also had a message for some of the more impatient fans in the Big Blue Nation.
Listen, some of you are going to jump off the bandwagon again early. And if you do, please, if you're the neighbor, call and say you did this last year, And he let you back in. He may not let you back in this year.
A couple of John Calipari's former players, Anthony Davis and Darius Miller, will be in town on Saturday night, along with former Card great Russ Smith, as the New Orleans Pelicans take on the Miami Heat in the first NBA exhibition at the KFC Yum Center. According to arena officials, everyone is excited about the return of Russ-diculous.
It's pretty interesting and neat that you lose LeBron and you bring in Russ and a ticket still sell. Not to put any negativity toward Russ. It just shows the type of support that he has in Kentuckiana. And I think people like the fact that, the kid played hard and didn't look back. So, we're all excited about Russ coming back to Louisville.
Yeah, everybody's excited. Russ is one of my favorite players of all time just because the kind of guy he was, so it'll be exciting to see him come back to town.
And so many people are looking forward to that. The tickets to that event just went like that.
Yes, as fast as they're trying to have the biggest crowd ever for an NBA exhibition game, and it looks like they may be able to do it.
Well, this just tells us that we should do this more often, right?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. What a day this has been for so many people today, and we do want to remind you once again that Fern Creek Traditional High School is in session tomorrow, so a normal school day, or as normal as it can be for all of those students. We invite you to tune into Wave 3 News beginning at 4:30 for the latest on that, as well as this death investigation that is going on regarding a child found at Cherokee Park.
Some additional counselors there too, I'm sure,
yes,
tomorrow.
at school. Thanks for joining us.
Now, with Wave3.com and the Wave 3 News mobile app, you always have breaking news and weather right where you are. Sponsored by Rally's Hamburgers.